Good evening, everybody, from Sahuarita, Arizona. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. We're a nice, cool 106 degrees on our thermometers at the out on our patio. So pretty warm day. Thought maybe we were getting a break in the weather, but I guess not. So we hope you all are well, and lots going on. We're about 60 days away from the November 3rd election, so you're probably all getting pretty excited about that. We we have some information for you tonight. We're going to talk about the polls, and I know probably most of you are sick and tired about hearing about the polls, especially. All of these polls that are show Biden with a lead in the Battleground States, and it's getting to be almost comical now. So I'm going to start out the program and giving you some information that I think you'll like, and this comes from some operatives that understand polling and the not only the methodology, but the psychology behind polls, and that's exactly where we're at right now. So the first thing I'm going to show you is I'm going to take you through this information about polls, and it's really pretty interesting. We have, and I'm going to bring this slide up now that'll show you the what I'm talking about. This is actually a pretty reliable poll right now. These people have predicted, they've picked 24 out of 26 presidential elections, including President Trump in 2016. And so this is called the Helmut Northpot model. And these folks have Trump winning in the Electoral College 362 to 176. And when you hear all the nonsense about the Electoral College, they didn't get any of that change. The Electoral College is going to decide who the president is. And that's the way it works in a republic. Democrats keep talking about democracy. This is not a democracy. The United States of America is a republic. So that's a pretty good indicator of election day and what's going to transpire. There was some talk today. I heard somebody saying that a few days after the election that Biden was going to say he's not going to concede. Well, it doesn't matter if he concedes or not. When the Electoral College, when Trump has the Electoral College votes and they declare the winner, that's it. That's the end. And I have some information from Larry Schweikert. You remember Larry Schweikert attended our Lincoln Day luncheon last February before we shut down the country, and Larry always has a lot of stuff on his Twitter account about voter registration and voter polls and polling, etc. So he picks up a lot of information from around the country. So we're going to use some of that too and some of his references. But anyway, here's a little blurb, and it says big media operations. So this is how big media approach polling, and I'm going to read this to you so you can understand it, or that you may not be able to read it from the screen, but I'm going to read it to you for you. It says, polls are not a snapshot of current public opinion. They are a carefully scripted play act that is 94% funded by the Democrat Party, with very few exceptions. They follow this specific timeline. The first act, show the Democrat up by double digits for 6 months. And if you think back, this applies to Hillary, and now it's applying to Biden. This accomplishes three things. One, it discourages Republicans to suppress their engagement and turnout. That's not working. sway independents toward D's as humans have a social desirability to be on the winning team. I don't think so. I don't think they're going to sway people to to Biden showing phony polls, especially with what the Democrats are doing, because independents are not going to be drawn toward violence and destroying cities and private property and murdering people. So, and then third, give legitimacy to the claim that the election is invalid if and when the Republican wins. They try that stuff over and over and it doesn't work. So, and then Act 2 is 1 month prior to election, adjust the ridiculous Democrat plus 17 samples to artificially create a tightening race. This lights a fire under the Dem voters so they don't take the election for granted. And that's probably a legitimate comment and a strategy. They say, well, we were way ahead, but now we're not doing so good. We're only a little bit ahead, so you need to rally up and start putting the votes and get out the vote and all the other things they do. So that's probably a legitimate comment. Finally, the third act, in the final week or two, turn off the Democrat oversample and report the actual poll result. This is so they can fake credibility and say, look, our last prediction was very close. See, we are an accurate pollster. So that's kind of the script that the big media and their polls use to do this stuff. And pretty interesting. I think it's true. I think they followed that script with Hillary, and I think they're following it again with Joe Biden. So I love Trump's new name for Joe Biden. He's calling him now Hiding Biden, along with Sleepy Joe. So I like that Hiding Biden, or Biden hiding, right? President Trump was classic last night with his peaceful protest rally that he had in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. So if you hadn't had a chance to watch that, go watch it. We also put that on the website under President Trump, on the Republican website, the Republican Club of Green Valley, Sahuarita, now the United Republicans of Green Valley, Sahuarita. So anyway, I thought you'd want to watch that because it was really a great time and a great speech, and he went on for about an hour and a half. So very enjoyable. And he's always on target. And, one thing he talked about last night, and I don't know if you guys heard this either, but the guy that murdered the Trump supporter up in Portland, the feds went after him right away. They found out who he was, and the FBI and the U.S. Marshals went after him, and he resisted and pulled a gun on him, and they shot and killed him. So, it's just a fact of life. If you threaten federal officers, you're probably not going to live to survive that encounter. So, of course, now I read a Fox story today about that gun battle, and they described the Antifa guy. The guy told everybody before this that he was 100% Antifa. Okay, Antifa is fascist, communist organization. Okay, and now they're classified as terrorists. Okay, and Fox went ahead and described this guy as a conservative. Now, can you believe that? I mean, come on. So Fox News is just heavily into the fake news now. It's just terrible, and so we are not watching Fox News at all. And we stick with a little bit of Varney in the morning sometimes, and some Lou Dobbs. And other than that, we don't pay much attention to Fox because we just don't. And I know President Trump he likes Fox and Friends in the morning during the week, and he likes the weekend guys. And he does not like the Fox programming during the weekend, other than Mark Levin maybe. Judge Janine's okay, but the rest of it all day is, he is not appreciative of some of the things they're doing, and he can't understand some of the people they've hired, and he's expressed his opinion about that several times. So Anyway, let's get on to some of this other polling information. And what I'm going to start with is some Larry Schweikert. I'm going to take you back to this other screen and show you some of the Larry Schweikert things. And this is really pretty interesting stuff. And I'd like you to see it. I'm going to go through it with you. And so here's our original slide that I put up for you. And now I'm going to go to the second slide. And so one of the comments, first comment that Larry Schweikert made, he says, remember, these polls are way, way low for Trump, okay? Right now they show him up in Georgia likely 9 to 10 points. And he's now up in North Carolina. He says it's this, and in Pennsylvania, he says he's probably up 1 or 2. Oh, they're showing as a statistical tie with Biden. He's probably, I'm sorry, apologize for that. He's probably up by 1 or 2 in Pennsylvania. So I think he's got a bigger lead than that in Pennsylvania. He says, when you get the people really likely to vote, Trump's lead is very substantial. So keep that in mind. People that, excuse me, people that are very likely to vote, Trump's lead is very substantial. And then I'm going to go on with some of this other, he says, Larry Schweikert says, apparently there are hysterics about the, oh my God, constant late vote counting. So he says, no. Pennsylvania court set November 6th as the date for counting all mail-in ballots. Any after that are disqualified, even New York and Nevada set 3 weeks. Now 24 for all late ballots to be counted, so 24 hours. So November 24th. So he says, statutory law says that all secretaries of state must certify their counts by December 14th. That date is immutable. Don't forget, the USSC reaffirmed that this date cannot be changed in Bush versus Gore. Remember the lawsuit and the that went to the Supreme Court. Bush versus Gore is what he's talking about. Any state that doesn't submit its slate of elections just won't be counted. So he's convinced that that's not going to happen. He says no state would be so foolish as to do this. And then he says on January 3rd, the U.S. Senate, with 2 tellers from each party, counts the electors, and Grassley reads the final tally. Chuck Grassley from Iowa. The only time in American history where there was a dispute Okay, we're back. And let me see here. Yeah, we got our mic back. Okay, hey, I apologize. We're going to have to go back over some of the stuff because we lost some of our audio. So, and that happens when you're doing these things on the internet. So I'm going to go back over these things, and I'll go the other direction. So I'll start with some of these polls, state polls that I was talking about. In Tennessee, Trump is up 64 to 29%. In Kentucky, Trump is up 64 to Biden's 29%. In Mississippi, Trump is up 60 to Biden's 34%. In South Dakota, Trump is up 64 to 29%. And let's see here. Let's go on up here. I'll try to give you some more. In Texas, Trump is up 54 to 38%. In Texas, 54 to 38. And in in Arkansas, Trump is up 62 to 34%. In Wyoming, Trump is up 68 to 20%. And in the Montana Senate race, where like I said, we get a lot of emails about the Montana Senate race and about money, et cetera. So Steve Daines is up 53 to 44% over the Democrat Steve Bullock. So it looks like he's got a pretty good lead there. And then I was talking a little bit about it. I went back and talked about this guy, the Antifa guy named Renault, that was killed yesterday by federal agents from the U.S. Marshals and the FBI. He's the alleged Antifa shooter, was arrested in eastern Oregon with a stash of drugs and illegal pistol in June. In July, he was arrested at a Portland Antifa riot with an illegal gun and had no charges brought against him. And then he killed, he ended up killing the guy, and was caught. And when the police got him, when the FBI and the U.S. Marshals got him, he pulled a gun on him, and now he's dead. So, end of story. And we feel deeply for the family of the Trump supporter, for sure. Some other stories on this site. Let me see here. I saw some stuff about somebody commented. Dan Bongino commented on Biden today. He says Biden is a stumbling mess. He can't even put together a coherent sentence. Which we know this is true. President Trump has a 52% approval in the Rasmussen poll right now, which is great. And let's see. A guy writes about the election and the electoral. He says, look closely at this map from 2016, which is a picture of the United States with the red areas and the blue areas. It says, now reduce the blue by 35%, and you will see November 3rd, 2020. Every county has been cleaned up by the DHS and the NSA. All 50,000 voting machines, 99% of fake votes. We control USPS. We control the National Guard. So he doesn't think there's going to be a lot of problems with voter fraud, it sounds like. And that's all good news. Let's see here. Let's go up here. I want to find some more information on, I'm looking through Twitter to find you some more information. They got registering voters in West Virginia is going well. Here's a comment, here's a tweet. It says, every single piece of actual evidence that exists points to Trump annihilating Biden across the board, across the map. Biden's only hopes are the media and voter fraud. It says, big trouble for Joe Biden among Hispanics in Florida, 11 points lower than what Hillary Clinton received in 2016 exit polls when she lost the state to Trump. So that's good news. Some stuff about campaigning in Wisconsin, in a blue state, in a blue area like Milwaukee. Interesting. Here's the economic news for the day. The unemployment rate dropped to 8.4% last month, and that was good news. Now here's the predictions that were made. J.P. Morgan estimated unemployment wouldn't fall below 10.9% by the end of the year. Goldman Sachs expected the rate to be at 10% at the end of the year. The Federal Reserve predicted it would only fall to 9.3% by the end of 2020. And his comment was, he says, in society we throw around the word expert way too frequently. And boy, are they right. So Going in the first week of September, our unemployment rate now is 8.4%, which has already exceeded the predictions of J.P. Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and the Federal Reserve. So, what do they know, right? And let's see here. Somebody commented about Biden was in Wisconsin and there was no people to speak of, no supporters. Okay, here's a North Carolina voter registration. Over the last 30 days, 50,000 new voters have registered in North Carolina, 42% Republican, 20% Democrat, and 38% independent. And generally, the majority of independents vote for the Republicans, so that's not really any kind of a concern, I don't think. The independents, they say they're independents and they don't like some of the social policy of the Republicans, but they vote for the Republicans in elections. So, and here's a comment by one of them. He says, "I'm an independent and will vote straight red this year. The radicalization of the Democrats have lost my vote forever. I've talked to many who feel the same." So, interesting. And I have no doubt that's a true statement. Let's see here. Oh, they had a Democrat election in Massachusetts, and they said 3,000 uncounted mail-in ballots surfaced in a congressional race between two Democrats. It was previously believed the number of uncounted ballots was 600. So there you go, folks. Massachusetts going at it. President Trump, he complimented his federal agents today about Operation Legend, which is the one that's going after people around the country. And he also commented about he says, President Trump thanks the U.S. Marshals for taking down the Antifa killer last night. I want to thank them for their strength, their bravery, and I really do wish that the mayor of Portland and the governor of Oregon would get going and stop the crime in that city. Boy, isn't that the truth. I don't know why the citizens put up with it. I really don't. Why they would even stay around. It just baffles me. Here's another little tidbit. They tried to legalize ballot harvesting in Minnesota, but the state Supreme Court ruled against them on that. So the vote's been protected in Minnesota. And Ronna McDaniel tweeted that. She's the GOP chairman. And let's see. What else do we got here on this guy's list here? Okay, I'm going to go back. Let's see if I'm going to go this way. I think so, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go down through here and see if I can find some more information on Trump. This guy comments that Trump being up by 3 points in Florida is a very good sign. Mostly about Florida and the numbers we're seeing in Florida, which is 2 to 3% for Trump. I'm going to go down through Larry Schweikert's tweets now. Take a look at some of those, if you bear with me. Oh, it's interesting that Kevin McCarthy came out today and said he didn't want the Chamber of Commerce's endorsement. And that's really interesting. That's something that Paul Ryan would never do. He was owned by the Chamber of Commerce, and many politicians are owned by the Chamber of Commerce. So, and they are not the biggest friends of Donald Trump either. Comment by Larry Schweikert about the great unemployment report, down to 8.4%. There's a big push across the world, too, about rescuing children. They've had several children rescued in the United States. Here's an article. German police raid 50 homes in child porn investigation. Let's see here. Here's an article, a tightening Minnesota Senate race blunts Democratic takeover prospects. So that sounds like something in our favor. Larry says, I don't do polls, but if you do, the tightening Minnesota Senate race blunts Democrat takeover prospects. So that's good news. Remember, keep in mind what these polls are all about. They are absolutely not accurate right now. So here's some comments about Larry Schweikert makes about, he's got a thread here that I'm going to go through. Hearing through the grapevine that Burgess Owens is running very strong in Utah 4, forcing McAdams into negative ads already. Word is a poll done earlier this month still hasn't been released because it's horrible for McAdams. And let's see here. And I'm going to go down through this because these are the kind of things I like to. Says, if Owens is up by as much as I'm hearing, that's significant. McAdams barely beat me in love by 1. While just one race, it is significant. First, it's an urban-suburban district with a potentially big flip in the numbers. Second, it resembles what Mike Garcia did in California 25. You remember Mike Garcia won that special race in California 25 a few weeks ago. President Trump has said twice we would take back the House. I think they have polling in the White House that shows that all 20 of these 1-point losses are now leaning the other way. Sean Parnell in Pennsylvania outside of Pitt is another example. Hearing the race in Washington is also close. These House races are murky because polling is so expensive and even well-funded candidates can't do much of it. But this suggests we are much closer to flipping the House than perhaps I previously thought. I'm guessing right now we're within 5 seats or fewer. That's from Larry Schweikert. And he says 20 seats were under 1 point difference in 2018. Another 10 were under 2. So any shift of 3 points puts 30 seats at risk. And let's see here. More comments on a specific story, so I'm going down here if you bear with me. I think that's good though. I have heard President Trump say we're going to take back the House, and he's pretty adamant about it. So I think he lets those little gems slip out because he knows and he has information that is true. So it says somebody wrote an article about it said Trump erases Biden lead in Pennsylvania, but Larry Schweikert says here's a little secret: demented Biden never had a lead in Pennsylvania. So yeah, there's one of the cases where it's getting close and we got to get scared, so we got to get people out. Blah blah blah. Let's see here. Going through some other. says, looks like people, Richard Grinnell tweeted, looks like people don't support rioting in the streets. And Larry Schweikert retweeted that tweet and said, hearing a very similar number about another district out west, it is too much to hope we flip the House. So I think he's getting convinced we're got a good chance of doing that. Prosecutors charged 19 in North Carolina with voter fraud, so that's good. I mean, yeah. And there's there's different kinds of fraud. There's voter fraud and there's election fraud. And what we're talking about with ballot harvesting is election fraud, not voter fraud. Voter fraud is when a voter, individually commits fraud, votes twice, that kind of thing. Election fraud is when you fraud the process, the voting process, which ballot harvesting does. So let's go on down here. I don't see any more stats on voter. Looking for Larry's. Come on, Larry. Okay, he says. The Hill, here's an article from The Hill. Trump gains 9 points on Biden in Pennsylvania in past 6 weeks for statistical tie. Joe's Monmouth University poll. And Schweikert comments, translation, Trump leads in Pennsylvania despite hoax poll gibberish to make it appear he still trails. So there you go. Here's voter registration in the bluest county in Miami-Dade County, Florida. Let's see, in June of 2020, it was Democrats 618,000, Republican 394,000, and now the Dems have added 6,000 and the Republicans have added over 13,000. So boy, that's good news. That's about as blue area as you can get down there. He makes some comments about General Flynn and what's going to happen there. And here's some other polls here. I think I gave you that one. Trump is up eight points in Georgia, probably 9 to 10. And he's up in North Carolina, and they say a statistical tie in Pennsylvania, but he's probably up 1 to 2, probably more than that. Again, there's a lot of information about, Larry Schweikert commented on people worrying about counting votes after the election, which he feels that that's not going to be a problem. And I think that I can go through that again if you like. So here's what he said. Apparently there are hysterics about the, oh my God, constant late vote counting. And we get frustrated in Arizona because of that. You know, we remember back in 2016, or not 2018, when they were counting for McSally and Sinema, and McSally had a lead on election day, and then he kept counting and counting and counting and counting ballots, and ballots kept showing up, and they counting, and she finally lost. And so everybody has always been wary of that. But now it says. Says, apparently there are hysterics about the, oh my God, constant late voting counting. And he says, Larry Schweikert says, no. Pennsylvania court set November 6th as the date for counting all mail-ins. After that, they are disqualified. It says, even New York and New Jersey set 3 weeks, which we don't really care about. And he says, statutory law says that all secretaries of state must certify their counts by December 14th. That date is immutable. don't forget that the USSC reaffirmed that they cannot be changed in Bush versus Gore. Any state that doesn't submit a slate of electors just won't be counted. No state would be so foolish to do this. On January 3rd, the U.S. Senate, with 2 tellers from each party, counts the electors, and Grassley reads the final tally. The only time in American history where there was a dispute about the electors was 1876. Even then, in the shadow of the Civil War, Congress worked out a committee to review the contested electors before the March deadline. They did. Trump is going to win so bigly on election night in states that are all going to be counted that it's not going to matter who still isn't counting, who hasn't counted their late votes. In my view, the Electoral College will be decided relatively early on election night. And I agree with Larry Schweikert about that. Just a wild guess, but this year I think Minnesota will put Trump over the top. Although Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania will all be in Trump's column, but I think the clear calls of enough electoral votes that night will make the late counting of mail-ins meaningless. So there you go. You can't do that way and say only some states matter. Just hold to the December 14th date, and done is done. And somebody comments that Trump needs an executive order to stop this madness. No votes counted just past midnight in each respective time zone. Well, there's a lot of problems, and a lot of people are concerned about election fraud, voter fraud, and we can understand it. We've all experienced it. So people comment on New York, California, Illinois, New Jersey. They say that ballot corruption wouldn't matter anyway, so they can't affect the electoral votes anyway. So, and that's probably true in those states. And somebody says the Dems will still raise hell after they cheat to have Biden win popular vote. I'm hoping and praying they will fail. Popular vote doesn't matter. We're not a democracy, and mob rule doesn't rule. We are a republic, and we have an electoral college per the Constitution, and that's the way it works. And unless they want to change the Constitution, they can't subvert it. So, and they've tried all these gimmicks the last few years, and none of them have worked. So I think we're okay, folks. And so I guess that's about it. I apologize for kind of the disjointed program, but I wanted to bring you some good news about polls, and that polling right now is really not worth listening to. It's all telling the story they want to tell, trying to discourage Republicans from voting. So we all know we can watch the peaceful rallies of the president, peaceful protesting, and we can see his popularity. We know how popular he is. The rioting in these few cities, you know, in Minnesota, it's just going to end up moving that state toward Trump. Oregon, I don't know what's going to happen there. They're just totally out of control, but it doesn't matter. It matters for the citizens, the law-abiding citizens. Of course, we feel for them, and we just really wish they could get their act together and you know, have some law and order. Wouldn't that be nice? I mean, you really feel for the business owners and the people living there. I don't know why they stand it. I don't know why they put up with it. I mean, they're just lucky that maybe they're scared. I don't know if they're scared or not. Maybe they're afraid of the Antifa crowd. You know, who knows? They've got them probably outnumbered more than 10 to 1. So, you know, in Antifa, you see these guys, I'm sorry, they're not anybody to be afraid of. They pick on women and kids and unarmed people, and you know, they hit people in the back of the head. And, you know, they're a bunch of cowards, okay? And when I see people stand up to them, they pretty much run. So anyway, I hope you guys got something out of this show, and we will keep bringing you information about the polls. I think President Trump is in pretty good shape, great shape as a matter of fact, and so keep enjoying his rallies. We've got a couple of big events coming up. The Republican Club is trying to raise money to have a year-round office, so if you want to interested in donating to that cause, you can go down to the office and 101 South La Cañada in Green Valley, Suite 60, and donate whatever you can. They'd like to keep the office open year-round. It's typically they open for 6 or fewer months during the 6 or 8 months, I guess it is. Sorry, during the election years, and then the following year they'll be closed. They'll open again later on. So they'd like to keep it open year-round. Keep the presence down here, and I know I have good information now that they do have President Trump lawn signs. So if you're interested in getting a lawn sign, make a donation down there and get a lawn sign. And on September 18th, a bus trip with candidates has been organized, like a whistle stop campaign around southern Arizona. So you can go down to the office and find out about that. And that's going to be a lot of fun. Most of the candidates are going to be on the bus from this area, so that's a good thing. And then on September 26th, the Republican Roundup, which is a yearly event, is going to be held at the Longhorn in Amado this year, September 26th, 5 o'clock, and a lot of good guests. And it's just time to go have fun, have a couple drinks, have a good dinner, and enjoy and meet some of the candidates and some other dignitaries. And it is sold out, by the way, so I know that happened this week. Limited capacity in the Longhorn down there, Longhorn Grill and Saloon and Grill, or Grill and Saloon, one or the other. That's what it's called. It's in Amado, right across the street from the old cow palace that got flooded out. So anyway, folks, that'll do it for the show tonight. Thanks for tuning in. We always enjoy visiting with you and talking with you, and we hope you're well. We hope you're making it through the COVID-19 pandemic. We wish this whole thing would come to an end, but I think most people believe it's going to end November 4th. So they just keep going on and on. If one number isn't good enough, it's got to be lower than that. No, that's not low enough. We got to be lower than that. So I see the Sahuarita schools extended their. They were going to open September 8th. Now it's September 17th. So in another week it'll be September 25th. So the least vulnerable people in all of this are the kids. And I've heard Democrat candidates talk about, oh, well, I know if a child gave a COVID-19 to a teacher. There's no facts to any of that. That's just storytelling, okay? They're storying you. So that hasn't happened. So don't believe any of that nonsense. I just don't believe children are in jeopardy, and healthy young adults aren't in much jeopardy. There's much risk, and older adults with overweight, diabetes, over 65, it's probably not good to get COVID-19. So we can still protect those folks, but the rest of them got to go on living, and we hope you're going on living and living your lives, and not caught up in this nonsense. Not go up to Tucson where you got the mask Nazis and not mask world up there, man. It's just, I see people driving with masks on in their cars, and I just don't get it. And somebody commented on Twitter about, well, you wear a mask into a restaurant, and then when you eat, you take your mask off. So you can't eat with your mask on, but why wear your mask into the restaurant and then take it off? I mean, some doctor commented on it, said, what is going on? So, he's right. I mean, we're doing it, but why do we do it? I guess we all want to get in the restaurant and eat, so we, if they're going to let us in, we have to do it. But I don't know. just crazy. So anyway, I hope you've all survived all of this. You know, we've been going at this since March. Can you believe that? March, April, May, June, July, August, September. You believe that? 7 months. 7 months of this. Off and on, off and on, off and on. And Governor Ducey has just done an awful job of handling this situation. And he's exceeded his emergency powers. And by the way, I have it on good information that the two of the LD2 candidates, Hernandez and D'Alessandro, flat lied during the clean elections debates when they told the speaker who asked them the question that they supported overriding the governor's emergency powers. Okay, because they told a prominent person that I know in Green Valley that they would not vote to override Governor Ducey. They want to keep things closed down. Well, of course they do. You know, that's their modus operandi. That's what they're all doing. Democrat governors and the rest of them, Democrat mayors. So they lied. You know, they went on the clean elections debate. Now the good news is only 23 people were watching that clean elections debate on LD2. And by the way, I wanted to give some advice to Mark Workman, who was in that debate. Mark, no, you don't want to vote for taxing the rich to pay for education. There's never going to be enough money that you could tax to pay for these people's education needs. They have a limitless amount that they want you to give them, okay? It's not going to happen. So don't get caught up in that. And the second thing is, no, we don't want legalized marijuana. It is a disaster in Colorado. So, you know, stay away from that stuff. No. Hear me, Mark? No. Say no. And my last comment tonight is about professional sports. Now, I've been watching professional sports my entire life, okay? I became a Baltimore Colts fan in the 1950s, a Johnny Unitas fan. As a little kid growing up, loved Johnny Unitas. Always loved him, okay? And then I told you I went to University of Colorado school and always loved the Colorado Buffaloes. I watched Colorado, started watching college football in the 50s too, and Colorado, and it's just great. Just my team, you know, I love it. But what's going on now is just wrong. I mean, the other night I was talking to my daughter, and I asked her how the hockey team was doing. Denver has a hockey team called the Colorado Avalanche, and they were really good a few years ago. They're good again, and a few years ago they won the Stanley Cup, and we were still living in the area, and it was fantastic. And we got to go to some of the playoff games. And one of them was against the Detroit Red Wings. Man, that's one of the fastest games you'll ever see is professional ice hockey. So, and it's rough. It's a rough game. So anyway, I said, well, they didn't play tonight. She said they boycotted the game, both the teams, because of the guy that got shot in Kenosha, Wisconsin. I said they boycotted the game. I said, do you know what that guy was a career criminal, that he raped a 5-year-old, that he was beating up his wife when they called the police, okay? And then when they came to get him, he went for a knife and they shot him, okay? And everybody gets all excited about, oh, they shot him 7 times. Well, how many times do you shoot somebody? I mean, have you ever had your life threatened by somebody with a weapon? How many times are you going to shoot him, okay? You don't know the answer to that, all right? Usually you shoot, you know, in a military scenario, and trust me, when you're having a gunfight with somebody, you shoot till they're dead, okay? You're not shooting to wound anybody, you shoot them till they're dead, okay? Whatever you got to do. Now the Navy SEALs, what they do is, you know, 2 shots to the body, 1 to the head, right? That's how they shot Osama bin Laden. Shot him twice and then shot him in the head. Dead. Okay, they don't typically take prisoners unless they are going on an assignment to take prisoners. They do not take prisoners. So anyway, So the hockey teams boycotted because of this guy. Are you kidding me? You're honoring a career criminal who raped a 5-year-old and went after the police with a knife. He had a knife in his car. They found it under his floor mat. That's what he was going for. And fought with him, resisted arrest, you know, and it's just incredible. So I don't know. The NBA said they were going to cancel their whole season, and then I think they found out they weren't going to get paid a dime, so they changed their minds right away. But these owners, why would an owner want to just throw away his business like that? I mean, what are you thinking? Okay? So I'm not sure what the inertia here is for some of these decisions being made. It's really hard to understand, but professional sports is really messed up right now. And even with the cancellation of the college football season for the Pac-12 and the Big Ten, and I'm so glad the other conferences are playing, I hope that this stuff isn't filtering down to them, you know, because that would not be good. And I would not be happy if, you know, my team, and I'm sure most people with their college teams, if they start picking up on this nonsense, because they need to learn about Black Lives Matter, what it is. It isn't just a slogan, okay? We know all lives matter, all right? We know that. We've always believed that, okay? We're Christians. Of course all lives matter. Babies' lives matter, right? Don't they? So all lives matter. But Black Lives Matter is a communist organization, okay? Go look at the history. Go see who runs the thing. Go see where they get their money, okay? They get their money from Act Blue, which is a big Democrat fundraising outfit that any Democrat website, club, anything in the country, any candidate, money goes to Act Blue when you give it to them, okay? And then they delve it out around the country. It's like a laundering house. So you know, that's what's going on. These people have to learn about some of these things and these incidents and what they're really saying to the public, because the public, they're not going to watch your sports anymore if you keep this up. They're not going to watch professional football, basketball. I don't think they watch professional basketball anyway. I haven't watched it since Michael Jordan retired, but I just don't think they do. And they're not going to watch professional hockey, and they're not going to watch professional baseball. I mean, the other day I was on Twitter and I looked at the Dodgers Twitter account, and they're running around before the game and they're in T-shirts with Black Lives Matter with BLM on. Excuse me? Do you guys know? Do any of you know anything about that? Okay, it's not just a slogan. Okay, they're sucking you into something you don't want to be a part of. So anyway, I'll probably get banned on YouTube for saying what I'm saying, but you know, whatever. It is what it is. So I love you guys. Patty says hi, and we're going to be back next week. And I apologize for some of the sound problems tonight. Just had an intermittent connection of some kind and cut off the sound for a while, so I tried to go back over everything I did. And I hope you guys are safe and well. God bless you, and we will see you all next week. The Sahuarita Tea Party Breaking News YouTube channel. And good night from Sahuarita, Arizona.